Developed and released by Square Enix, originally for the personal computer in 2010, was that of Final Fantasy XIV. The concept or premise of 14 had been developed by Square since roughly 2005, as developmental staff at Square were somewhat divided on the premise of a massively multiplayer online role-playing game due to the mixed results of Final Fantasy XI, which were mostly due to the limits of gaming technology at the time. A number of developmental staff from other related Final Fantasy games of the time were also brought in for the project in terms of developmental assistance. At the time, Square considered what it had done in terms of the dynamics of the game to be adequate. However, soon after release, the game received a monumental amount of criticisms due to the broken details or aspects of the game, even as far as officials publicly commenting in 2011 that the failure of the game had even damaged the Final Fantasy brand internationally. It became apparent that the game was in such a state that there couldn't be much more done to it, as developers were divided as to what exactly should be done with the game. Some considered the game should be written off as a failure within Square records on focuses as well as funding should be moved on to future projects. Others considered a more drastic approach, using the lore of the game itself. The Dreadworm, one of the primal beings of the Final Fantasy XIV universe, brought an end to the 7th era, which was used to explain the massive amount of changes from the original version of the game, now considered to be version 1, to A Realm Reborn. As once the game was completely remade, all of the problems of the game were eventually fixed, and it was considered a monumentally influential game for the Final Fantasy brand, doing a complete reversal from public perceptions of the game when originally released to The Realm Reborn. From information now known, the decision by Square Enix to use the in-game lore of the Bahamut to fix the game itself was seen as an ingenious and clever ploy to save the game. The Dreadworm was that of a plot mechanism to explain away the massive changes that were needed. To add further depth of the game with the Bahamut, the fate of the beast was expanded upon within the Binding Coil storyline, as even origins of the creature were explained during the Heavensward expansion. Sometimes a character could be forgotten because they were used as an excuse to fix a broken game. Once the game was fixed, the character was considered a clever reason for the fix.